Berlin. Hello, folks, and welcome back to the Indaba Conversation with Chris. And we are here with one of South Africa's most famous comedians, none other than Barry Hilton. A little bit early start there. Apologies if you show up on time. You can always go back and watch this from the outset. So Barry was just asking me off camera what shirt I'm wearing there, because folks know that I tend to wear rugby shirts or something that's related to my travels around the world. But this is my travels around the world. It's a Berlin shirt.
Berlin, fantastic.
Yeah, der Berliner Bär. Yeah, very famous symbol for the city of Berlin. Barry, how you doing?
Fantastic, thanks.
Now,
doing pretty well.
I've been asked a few questions by some of my viewers ahead of time, and we should. Not everybody knows everything about Barry Hilton, although you've played in Vegas, you've been here in the States. Let me start off. How did that go? What was that experience like playing in Vegas? I love going out there, but I watch people gamble.
Actually, it was great. I just went there, got invited to go. So I just went there. And while we were at it, my wife and I got remarried in an Elvis chapel.
Well, that's not stereotypical at all. Get married in Vegas.
No, of course not. There's nothing like that. So, no, it was great. Working in Harrah was brilliant. Working with some other guys. I enjoy working all over the world, and I enjoy it when I go to, when I go to Singapore or Australia and nobody knows me. It's quite a kick when I go there and I actually do my thing. And then the Australians are quite weird. They swear quite a lot, but it's fine, up to them, So, but if they go like, "You're all right, mate," that means they loved you. Because now I finished my show, one of my shows in Oz when I first went there. I did this one. My last show there I really did was the Sydney Opera House. And I was sitting in the foyer afterwards, and quite a few guys came and said to me, "You're all right, mate." And I was saying, but hold on, all right is not good enough in South Africa. I mean, all right is like, yeah, you're okay, So my South African Australian friend said to me, "Mate, if they tell you that, then it's, lekker." So, and also when I was in Singapore, it was quite funny. Very hostile crowd almost. Lots of expats, Brits mostly. And it was like, who the hell is this guy? All right, make us laugh. It was that. But I've been doing it for such a long time. That to me is a challenge. And I say, well, let's go. Usually my opening line is, "How's it? I'm from South Africa. Fear not. Just give me your wallet." So.
Well, I mean, that's a thing for comedians is the play on culture and language. That's always a big deal. I mean, for instance, what you just said to me, that's hectic. If I said that to an American, they'd be confused.
Yeah. But, in South Africa, we poke fun at the troubles that we have, we got a problem with Eskom, and we got problems with this and problems with that. Eskom, for the people out there that don't know, is our electricity supplier. And the other day, just out of the blue, my boy said to me, "Did you know there's a dark side of the moon?" Well, clearly, I know that. So I said, yes. He said, "Why is it a dark side of the moon?" And I immediately said that Eskom has a depot there.
Well, that would explain why they can't get coal to the coal-fired power stations.
Yeah, but you know what? Politics is beyond me. World-wise, I'm listening to some books about these the Tier 1 Navy SEALs in the States, and the nonsense they go through. And also, it always ends up about politics. Some guy is crooked somewhere along the line, or some lady, or whatever you want to call it, some person. And I find it intriguing. So South Africa is clearly not as bad as I think a majority of the people believe it is. Yes, there is some places you shouldn't go. But I have some friends who stay in Chicago, and they say to me, "Man, there's lots of areas in Chicago you don't venture there after night, even daytime, So
No, absolutely. It's a fair point.
It is what it is.
There's a lot of folks a lot of South Africans who are down on South Africa, but it's a pretty amazing country with pretty amazing folks. And that's one of the things you do in your show. Now, I had never been to one of your shows until recently when I went to Somerset West a few weeks back. You performed down there, and I got a chance to meet you afterwards. By the way, thanks for that. That's really nice to see, artists giving back, hanging around, meeting the folks who came to see them perform.
Oh, I enjoy it. I actually, I don't know if you came before the show, but before the show as well, I sit in the foyer and I talk to people. I enjoy that. I don't find it necessary to sit in this room at the back waiting for the people to go like, ladies and gentlemen. I don't need that. I'm very blessed, and I've always been like that since day one. It's just make it happen.
It's an absolute great attribute. It really made for a fantastic performance. I had no expectation you're going to be there afterwards. Of course, we have a mutual friend, I guess, in Joe Emilio, the American slash Egyptian slash South African. Very confused fellow. Doesn't know what he is.
Slash.
Yeah, exactly.
So, one of his great lines is he qualifies for the BEE, whatever.
Yeah, he does.
He's a wonderful guy. They just had a baby, so that's fantastic.
Absolutely.
Good
I was
guy,
there.
lovely wife,
met the baby.
South African. Yeah, you met the baby.
I met the baby. Yeah.
I'm surprised. Can it speak already?
No.
How did this meeting go? Did it look at you and think, "Oh my gosh, it's Father Christmas"?
Well, yeah, exactly right. It was reaching for the beard. Now, literally, the baby was just a couple of days old when I actually got to meet the baby. So, yeah, I was.
He's a good guy, Joe.
Yeah,
his wife is beautiful. Sorry, I've got ADHD, so I just cut in. I can't help it.
Now I know that. I saw your show.
I
saw your show.
It's amazing. For years and years, I thought people who didn't really know me thought I was just very rude. But as time goes on, and medical science expands, you realize that ADHD is a problem. And when I interrupt people, it's not because I'm being rude. It's just because I've got enough information about that. Okay, let's carry on.
Move on. Yep. Now, I get where you're coming from. Give me just a second here because speaking of being off the game a little bit, I forgot to turn my light on. Hang on.
Your light.
There we go.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah. Well, we started a little bit early, so I got distracted there and forgot to turn the light on. It's kind of a sexy light. I like purple. It's kind of nice. But you want to stay away from politics, and that's fine. Let's stay away from that.
I don't do politics.
Yeah, I know. We're not going to do that. But there is one thing that one of my viewers, also is a musician. He's a magician, actually. His spouse is a musician in South Africa, and he has a question. This is intergalactic. It's not here on terra firma. It's he asked me to ask you about your view. Now, see, I'm a firm supporter of the United Federation of Planets. Their mores and norms. But he asked me to ask you about your view on Klingons.
Well, you know what? I remember when I was a youngster, a Klingon is when you went to the bathroom and you didn't wipe properly and you had a few Klingons. That was my sort of...
That's not where I was going at all. I thought a Klingon was a kid that wouldn't let go of its mother's leg.
No, a Klingon is like a little bit of turd that doesn't sort of escape yet.
Oh, dear God. Okay, I'm going to have to talk to my viewer who asked me to ask that question because I wasn't expecting that.
I think I actually did a story about Klingons about that, funny enough. A long time ago when I had little kids, so...
Well,
I've got lots of...
Do you have any interest in space? Is that something? Or science fiction? Is that something? Well,
yeah, we moved into a bigger house. That's enough space. Yes, I do.
I can hear it with the echo in the room. There's a lot of space.
I'm sorry. No, I deal with a lot of. I like space. I think, wow, it's tough out there, and I do believe somewhere out there there's some sort of alien life. So. But if you go underground, under our ground in South Africa, in the world, there is millions and millions and millions of alien creatures living there that we don't really know what they are. So we might be the aliens. But I didn't go see that movie in South Africa, Alien, because I thought it was an Afrikaans movie about a guy by himself. Because I got there and I read the Alien. I thought, no.
Some bloke out in the Karoo.
my late brother, God rest his soul, he nothing. My late brother was a devout Christian, and that was his view on life. And there was no such thing as aliens. There was no such thing as left, right, and center. So, I mean, are there aliens? We don't really know, do we? It's all conjecture.
It is all conjecture, but I think there are on Enceladus, Saturn's moon. I think there are under the ocean, under the ice caps. But we'll see somewhere in the future. But I don't know if we have Klingons out there, that's for sure. And apparently there are Klingons. They're just not what I thought they were.
Yes. Apparently, I saw the other day that they said there are aliens on the dark side of the moon.
Okay.
And they were going to come to attack England, but they haven't finished that Pink Floyd album yet.
Well, I guess
are there aliens? If you believe in aliens, that's great. If you don't believe in aliens, that's also great.
Yeah. It's, people can believe what they want, but we'll probably find out if there's aliens sometime soon. The Chinese have a satellite that is over the dark side of the moon. It's giving us all kinds of information all the time about what's going on there. So a little bit of insight.
My one son, my youngest son, it's going through school at the moment that they didn't land on the moon. So
conspiracy theories.
And of course the Earth is flat. There's another theory there. So I don't know.
Well, I don't know if the Earth is flat, but Kansas certainly is. I don't know if you've been to Kansas. Yeah. It's certainly flat out there.
And the Free State is flat as well. So maybe
indeed. Well, listen, let me ask you this question. A little bit to sports here. Are you into sports at all? I know that we'll get to fishing.
I like football, yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay,
football.
Folks.
You call it soccer.
I'm really sorry, folks, but this has taken a bad turn, this interview. We're talking about not a real sport now, so we'll try to go past this very quick.
We're talking about the sport. It's so bad that only 4 billion people watched the last tournament.
What do they know? What do they know? 37 million people watch URC rugby.
Yeah. Are you a rugby fan?
Oh, through and through. I've been a Springbok fan since 1982, 83, 84, something like that.
So how did you get into rugby on that side of the world?
Well, it's interesting. America has the second largest number of registered rugby players in the world. Most people don't know that. And
yes.
So you probably knew that. Okay, but most people don't know that. And rugby's been here since the outset. It was played at university, Princeton, places like that. And we have had a thriving, very strong club rugby scene for a century. And in fact, before Rio, we were the reigning Olympic champions because Rugby 15s was in the 2024 Olympics, and we beat France both those times for the gold medal. So, but it has a long history, but it never had a professional sport. And while we didn't go professional, other sports passed it by. Baseball, football became huge. Basketball.
I personally think from watching NFL and basketball and baseball, the whole game seems to be centered around ad breaks. So that's where they get all of their. No, but it's the truth.
No, I'm laughing because you're right. That's why an NFL game goes for 3 hours because of adverts. It's 3 hours.
That chap that's just taken over Chelsea, I forget his name, the American guy. He also owns a couple of sports franchises in the States. He proposed that they should actually have ad breaks during the, and really
not going to happen.
No, it's never going to happen. Soccer is do you know what the amazing thing is? That a massive amount of kids are going to college in the States through soccer scholarships.
Yeah. Well, there's two things I would change. I would change about soccer that really I think would make the game better. And diehard soccer fans don't agree with me. Now, listen, I make fun of soccer, but I have been a Bayern München fan since 1984 when I went to Munich for the first time, and I actually follow them. So, interesting club. But there's two things I would change. Number one, when there's a stoppage of play, stop the clock. That would be nice. This, wait for some.
That's why they have extra time, dude.
Yeah, because some referee from wherever gets $100,000 in a satchel left in his hotel room to add 6 minutes. Come on, man. So stop the clock. And then the other thing would be to allow the television official to look at certain things. They don't do that. I mean, I think that in the FIFA World Cup in South Africa, was it Ghana that was cheated? I think it was when Uruguay.
Under 17s.
No, not that one. In the FIFA World Cup in 2010, when I think it was Ghana and Uruguay, I think it was Uruguay, where they kicked the ball, and the guy was in the net, one of the players, and he knocked it down. That should have been automatic goal, and they should have had instead of getting a penalty kick. What's a penalty kick?
No, there wasn't, but there wasn't VAR in those days, and referees are human beings.
Exactly.
So
that's why I like the video.
About American, the best way to sort out American football is to tell the guys to man up and take all their equipment off and play like rugby players play.
Well, that would certainly.
I saw that the other day.
It would change the game. Yeah. So
they would. I think if the American players, I mean, it's a great game. You know, hundreds of millions of Americans love it, so there must be something right. But I think if they had to play even an American game against rugby players and don't wear anything except for their togs, I think they'll get quite a fright because we've got some beasts here, man.
Well, I mean, guys like Bakis Bota, and Eben Etzebeth, those are just giants of men. They really are.
Listen, remember that guy from France, that massive guy from France?
Yeah,
beast, huge guy.
Well, I've interviewed Victor Matfield in the past because I also
really?
Yeah.
He's
Victor Matfield, Henneke Meyer, Nas Bota, Joel Stransky, lots of Springboks, Jonathan Kaplan as well. Fantastic guy, the official. I interviewed Victor, of course, on camera like this, and then I was in Pretoria, and someone asked him to meet up with me, so we met. I'm tall, but I look like a dwarf next to Victor Matfield.
Yeah, I remember you put some. The guys are big, hey?
Yeah, he's a big oak.
There's some big guys, and if you, that's why American sports, physical sports, seem to be dominated by African original people because they're just big. Western African people are huge, so they've come across to you, so their genes have followed. I mean, I don't know what's the demographics in American football.
I do. It's 65% black.
There we go.
And 12% of the population is black. In the NBA, it's 78% black.
Well, great. And if they can do the job, why not?
Yeah, I don't care. I used to watch the NBA. I was a big fan of Michael Jordan. When Jordan retired, I lost interest because it was boring for me, and I don't watch it ever since then.
I just saw that movie.
Which one? Oh, yeah. Is it good? Is it good?
Excellent movie.
Cool.
Michael Jordan's mum was the driving force.
Really?
When he went to the university, and he didn't make the team the first time when he was in college, even though he was pulled or whatever. His mother didn't complain. She didn't moan at the ref. She didn't moan at the officials. She didn't take him to another. She just said to him, Michael,
work harder.
Best you get in the gym.
Yeah.
Boom. Michael Jordan, arguably one of the greatest athletes ever in the world.
Hands down, no question about it. Absolutely amazing. When he
came, probably the only person that can jump higher than Cristiano Ronaldo.
Well, not only jump, but it's almost like he defies gravity. I mean, that's the whole thing. I mean, it's just amazing. Obviously, he doesn't, but Jordan in sports was amazing. I loved it when he played for the Bulls. I became a Bulls fan because of Michael Jordan. But what's nice about Jordan is that Jordan could go out there and score 90 points a game against teams, all five playing on him single-handedly. And that's how he started his career. But then he adjusted, and he became a team player, and that's how they won all those championships. Absolutely amazing stuff.
Well, I saw a very good thing from Michael Jordan itself, who says that it was a motivational for kids, inspirational. He says, I've done this, I've done this, I've done this, I've done this, and everybody knows that. But did you know I missed the last shot to win the game 30 times. I missed the hoop 700 times. I did this. I missed. He said, and he basically said to the kids, just put your head down and carry on.
Yep. No, that's awesome, man. That's a good point. You don't win every time. And even if you're the greatest athlete on the planet,
I've been married 3 times. So I've got it right now.
Ouch. Well, we won't go down that road. We'll get away from that topic. Get away from that topic. One of my viewers said that the Houston SaberCats head coach, that's Henneke Meyer. He's not head coach. He's the rugby manager. Their head coach and their trainer and 8 players off in South Africa. That's true, Nicholas, but that's not uncommon. The rugby ATL, the Atlanta franchise that I had a special relationship a couple years ago in which they gave me access to their entire team 3 hours every week. I interviewed all the players throughout the season, the coaches. Half that team was South African. Johan Monson still plays there. The Griquas player still plays with Atlanta. So there's lots of South Africans, younger guys especially, cutting their teeth over here in Major League Rugby. And we just had the championship. But just back to Barry. Go ahead.
Yeah. My son stays in Edinburgh, and there's a guy who plays for Scotland. He's Van der Merwe.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, there's South Africans all over playing for other countries and other teams. Ireland's also got him. CJ
Well, I'm
Stander was
sure
there.
Americans are also all over the place, and Australians and whatever.
Oh, we are, but we're not. It's not many Americans signed on foreign rugby teams. Just a handful. They're usually in England.
You know, give it time, because
Yeah.
I mean, you know, when America changed their mind about football, which is what, 30 years ago, I don't know, they gave it properly. You know, so they look at they've got some really classy players now playing in the major European leagues. So they must have been doing something right.
No, it's interesting because people ask me about rugby in the States, and I always compare it to soccer 30 years ago. That's what I tell people.
Yeah.
Because the advent of professional rugby's been here for about 4 or 5 years now. If you look at where we are in development as a professional sport and advertising and broadcasting, it's in the same place that Major League Soccer was 30 years ago. Now that's the second iteration. Of course, when Pele came over in the first iteration, it kind of failed. Not because of Pele; he was hugely popular with the Cosmos, but it kind of failed. But it came back as Major League Soccer, and it took off because kids started playing it in high school. That's the key. Yeah. In South Africa, every time they talk about transformation in rugby, I'm like, Saro needs to spend time in townships and in rural areas on farms and in communities and bring the game to kids who don't get a chance to see it and be exposed to it. And then you'll have talent from across the country. You just have amazing talent. That's the secret. Yeah, that's the secret.
Did you know that a lot of the schools won't play football in South Africa? Particularly where we live, I know that they've got these beautiful fields, and numerous times the people in charge there have been asked, why don't you play soccer? And their answer is, there is no football in this school. So it happens. But football is slowly, it's creeping in, soccer, yeah. It's creeping in. I think it's a great sport. All sports are good, man, except when the guys start cheating.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, for me, the thing about soccer is I can watch the World Cup and I can watch Bayern München play. I mean, that I'm good. But most other games, I don't get that excited about it. But I enjoy playing it. It's fun to play. It's very, very, very exciting game to play. I really enjoy playing. And when I first started playing soccer, I was at university and it was summertime, and all the people I was playing against were international students who didn't go home in the summer. So Iranians and Nigerians and Malaysians and people from all over the world, where football was huge, and it wasn't huge in the States back in 1982. Yeah. And so, I mean, I'm out there in great physical condition getting smoked by these guys who just know how to pass the ball around, and I'm running around like a little kid chasing it.
Well, the funny thing about soccer is you don't have to be massive to be a brilliant player. I mean, Lionel Messi, I don't think is he 5'8" or something like that?
Yeah, he's a really short guy, that's for sure.
Have you seen his legs? My giddy aunt, his legs are really built.
They're massive. Yeah, no, he puts a lot of work in that lower body. But I mean, the same with rugby. I mean, look at Kurtley Arendse, not exactly a big fellow, and he just lights the game up.
Cheslin Colby.
Oh, Cheslin Colby hits like a semi-truck, man. That guy is, lights out when he hits you.
Remember James Small?
Yeah.
When we played rugby against the feared All Blacks, I remember James Small took out Joe Malone.
Yep.
Took him out.
That's an incredible accomplishment. That guy was just a steamroller, Jonah Loma.
Shame he's passed on. They probably died a few years ago.
So, a lot of folks from that era passed on, especially the '95 Springboks team. Joost van der Westhuizen and a bunch of others is really sad, but it is a shame.
Nice guy, Joost, as well.
That's what I've heard.
Did you know his son actually plays soccer?
No, I didn't know that. That's.
I think he plays for Reading.
I think
for Reading as a goalkeeper, funny enough.
Okay. Well, I think the rugby crowd probably won't highlight that.
Yeah, I don't understand. I mean, you would expect Joost's son to carry on. But, I actually know Francois Pinault's brother, okay? And he told me, he was younger than Francois, and he went to school, and they said to him, name Pinault. Oh, my giddy on. Who's your brother? Francois. That's it. They put him in the first team straight away. And he said he couldn't even catch a ball. So after that, they let him go. So you just assume that's going to happen. People ask my children all the time, are you as funny as your dad? And they
go, your comedians,
no. Yeah. They're funny, but they don't want to be comedians. They want to be who they are.
Exactly, and that's how they should be. But, so you're asking about how I got into rugby. I was a freshman at university on a Friday afternoon. One of the upperclassmen said to me after we finished our leadership lab for the reserve military training that I was doing in university, he said, "You come into the game tonight?" It was Friday. I'm like, "The game is tomorrow." And I was talking about American football. The university played the next day. He goes, No, not football, rugby. I said, "Listen, man, I'm from Appalachia. We're just happy with paved roads and electricity. We don't have rugby in that part of the country. I mean, I've heard of it. I know what it is, but I've never seen it." He goes, "Oh, come on, you'll have a great time. It's fun. You'll meet women." I'm like, "I'm there." I went. He was right. It was fantastic. I had a great time. I met people there. I met a woman there, and it was fantastic. It was a great game. Learned a lot about it, and been a fan ever since. I've never introduced a single person to the sport of rugby that didn't love it. Not like it, but love it. And that's a pretty good track record. It's a really good game. You don't love it. Yeah, but I did introduce you to it.
It's a great game. I'll watch it on television, but I'm not a big rugby fan. But it's a fantastic game.
Yeah.
Funny enough, my two youngest children, before my baby, they were rugby fanatics, and they still are. They're absolutely fanatical about rugby. But my youngster, Jack, he plays soccer. That's it. He won't play any. He used to surf. And then a couple of years ago, he came home one day and said, "I want to play soccer." Okay. So that's what it is. So, and that suited me fine because I like soccer.
Now,
but I like sports.
Did you have a hard time, becoming financially secure in life? I mean, with these dozens of marriages you've had, the Lobola must have eaten you alive.
No Lobola. What is financial security, mate? Really?
Able to pay your bills?
Yeah, we can do that. That's happy. You know what? Except Jack, all of my kids have grown up and they're out and they're doing their own thing. There was a stage in my career that I was interested in the money. It was the money, then the fame, then what I could buy with the money. So I've been there, had fancy cars, big boats, motorbikes, you name it, big houses, big this, big that. And COVID put everything into perspective.
Yeah.
Wow. I don't need to be running around the flipping world, missing my family just to drive a brand new car or have a holiday home in Barbados or something like that. So that COVID changed my world completely. So, I spoke to a friend of mine today. He's 57. He's probably going to make it. If he makes it to Christmas, he'll be lucky. He's got terrible cancer, and we were actually discussing the same thing. He chased the monkey for years, but now he says he wasted all that time running around after money when he should have been with his family. But it's sad. My brother also, whatever. Let's not go there.
Yeah, no. That's it's the thing about it. I never was keeping up with the Joneses sort of thing. It's never been that for me. Of course, I spent 36 years in the Army, living all over the world. So I moved 26 times in 36 years. So I mean, you don't really set roots down. You don't acquire lots of things. You just pick up and move. And the less you have, the easier it is to move. So I got in that mode for a long time. But for me, it's when financially secure has always been I can pay my bills, and if I need or want to do something, I have the flexibility to do it. That's all that matters in life. And if that's spending time with your family, I've never had fancy cars or boats, and I don't really like the water, so a boat wouldn't do me any good. It would just sit at dock. But you like the water. You're a fisherman. Now, are you into deep sea fishing, freshwater fishing, fly fishing? What is it that you like in fishing?
Something that I can put something on the end of a hook and fish. It doesn't matter to me.
Oh, so you'll do all of that?
Well, no, I don't really do fly fishing because I haven't had a chance. I like bass fishing. I like fishing out of a boat. I like on the side by the rocks. But here's the thing. I fish to fish, not to catch fish. Make sense?
No, I got you. It's for, I would imagine, for the relaxing time that you're there. Yeah,
sit on my kayak and just fish. It doesn't really matter, does it? And for the record, I never, ever, ever keep the fish.
You always toss them back.
Always.
So that begs a question, Barry. Isn't it boring?
No, not really. I'm going to let you off the hook on that one.
Oh, there
See,
you go.
what is boring? I sit there. I've actually sold my kayaks and that now because I'm really interested fully in with a football. But in summer, I'll get another kayak. I actually enjoy it. You paddle out just past the breakers or by the breakers, throw an anchor. You got a nice, comfortable kayak, nice seat, bit of music, whatever, bit of shade, and just sit there and think. And sometimes I don't even think. I just sit. So it's lacquer.
Ah, there we go. The South
I
African.
do a really funny story about snooker. How the
is that the same game as snooker?
snooker, yeah, that's a video game. But I mean, you see snooker. Have you watched snooker on television?
I have. It's very serious. They take it quite seriously.
But the commentator's job is to make it exciting.
Yeah, exactly.
So this guy's playing snooker. He takes 2 minutes to decide which ball to hit, makes a mistake, and the commentator, to bring it up, says he's under tremendous pressure as he
moves forward to get. As he lines the cue up. Yeah, no, I've seen that. It's hilarious. Hey, one of my viewers has just had a comment here for you, Barry. It's interesting, and this should be heartwarming, I would hope. Said that that he went to Barry's concert at the PA Opera House with his mother many years ago, and Barry asked his mom for her ID to see if she could see an adult show. To the day she died, she was like a teenage fan.
That's fantastic. It's the best thing about being, if you will, famous or whatever,
or well known,
is the ability to talk to people and enjoy just chatting. I love just chatting to people. And, my dad was a funny guy, so I grew up with these witty one-liners. One day, a guy insulted my mother. She had polio, my mom.
Oh, shame.
Well, happens, eh?
Yeah.
And
especially back then.
Yeah, she had this big caliper on her leg, and this guy was clearly drunk and said to my father, "Why on earth would you marry a cripple?" And my father just looked at this guy and said, "I don't like walking fast." So he just destroyed it. That was actually that was a life-changing point for me, that because I saw my dad destroyed this guy. Just like that.
Oh, you actually you heard that conversation. You saw that.
I was there.
Oh, okay.
I was there.
Yeah, but that's incredible. That kind of disarming humor. I love that because he just
like whacked this guy. What could he do? Nothing. He had. How can you come back from that?
You can't. I mean, he basically moored him verbally.
I had a bully in my school, and I got very curly hair, as you see.
Yeah.
Okay? And the bully came to me with all his little crew, and said to me, "My hair is so crappy that if I cut it, I can use it to clean my pots, And all his friends were like laughing. And I said to him, because I've got ADHD, I said, "Seriously, your hair is so straight, you could go to a fancy dress party as a set of curtains." And there was like this silence, and all these guys around him were going like, and eventually this guy laughed and said, "Are you funny, man? No, you are." End of bullying.
Yeah.
So I used my dad's way there. It was a scary moment, but I did it.
But you pulled it off. Now, your dad was English, if I'm not mistaken. Your mom was from Mauritius. Is that correct, originally?
My mom was from Durban, but her dad was from Mauritius.
Oh, her dad was from Mauritius. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
interesting. And you were born in Harare. Is that correct? Which was Salisbury at the time, I would imagine.
Yeah, I was born in Harare. Then we came back to South Africa when I was 2, I believe. I didn't know much about that. And we went to the UK and then came back when I was 13. So, yeah, I've lived in Cape Town basically all the time,
Hey, folks, you're listening to the Indaba Conversation with Chris. My guest today is none other than South Africa's very own Barry Hilton, and he'll be appearing at upcoming events. We'll get to that before we wrap up the stream later, but there's a question earlier about this, about where people can get tickets. Now, I purchased a ticket for Barry's upcoming performance on the 29th of July in the Strand, and that was through Quicket. Is it Quicket? Quicket, yeah. Quicket.co.za if you want to get tickets.
It's actually an all-in dinner plus a show, and I'm actually doing it as a fundraiser for my boys' local football team. So,
oh, that's
I'm
awesome.
helping.
Now, Barry, if it's not too much trouble, if I could ask you, make sure that because I've got a ticket that they save me something to eat, because I'll be at the netball World Cup and that ends at 6, and I think dinner starts at 6, and you perform at 8:30.
I'll wait. I'll wait for you.
Oh no!
How far is the netball World Cup at?
It's up at it's in Cape Town at the International Trade Center downtown. So it'll take you about
20 minutes, man. You're back there.
Yeah, so I'll make it.
Sorry, I'm yawning.
That's okay.
20 minutes.
Yeah, no. So folks, if you want to go to that performance, and you got a couple more before that, but I won't be in South Africa until the 28th.
Yeah,
so.
tomorrow I'm at a place in Durbanville, but it's sold out. So.
Okay, well, you'll have to miss that one, folks. And then I think there's one more on the 15th or thereabouts or something like that.
Yeah,
but you can check
Sandy
it out.
Knows.
Just go, sure. Folks, just go to Barry Hilton. I think it's .co.za or is it .com?
Yeah, or .com.
Okay, yeah, go to either one of those and domains, and you can be able to find his events and his performances, and you can check it out. So let me ask you this question, Barry, because it's I think a key thing to entertainers, particularly comedians, is how they can relate and read their audience. And I've seen you perform once, and you've been doing this for more than a couple days. You're getting up there, but a few days. You seem to have the ability to read your audience pretty well, which has got to be critical to being successful. And also, you seem to find the things that interest them. I don't know, do you improv at times during your show and riff in different directions, or do you have kind of a repertoire?
All the time.
Okay. All right.
I've never done a structured show. I lie. I've done 3, but that was for television specials where I've had to read idiot boards because I can't remember it. I like to do the improv stuff. I really enjoy improv. It's great, but there's not so much of it in South Africa, but I'm pretty good at it.
No, I'd have to say you are. I'd say you're very good. That's an unbiased opinion.
The improv for me is when I talk to people. Some people think that all comedians shout and scream and abuse them. I do the opposite. I really believe that I talk to people and we have a good laugh about stuff, because I sort of self-deprecate a lot of the times. That's due to my flipping ADHD and dyslexia and depression. The list goes on.
Now, do any of your audience ever have a challenge? Because you do something similar to me, and I start to wonder if I might have some afflictions here, or some cases, because you jump from boom, 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 from place to place at times, and then you'll come back to where you were. I've seen that in performance. I do the same thing. I'm a storyteller, and I'll start down a rabbit hole, and then suddenly I'll come back up here, and I got to bring my audience back with me. Is that sometimes a challenge for you?
No, it's just... sometimes, maybe once or twice, I've forgotten what I was saying, but it didn't matter. I left it at a good point. I didn't leave the conversation in so. Anyway, what I was talking. No, I don't do that. So I know what's going. The best was I'll remember when I realized I was doing it. It was about 30 years ago, maybe a bit more. I'd just been to the Kruger National Park. And I was booked to do this club in Cape Town, and I had to do 2 35-minute spots. Are you with me? So I started talking about the Kruger National Park, and my first set I did I think 50 minutes, and then we had a break, and then I was like 45 minutes into my second 35-minute spot. And there was a guy who just poured a beer, and it was like very close. It was one of those clubs that you're almost touching the stage, This guy had just poured a beer, and I said, so anyway, this giraffe, and then this guy went, and he laughed into his beer, and it all fuzzed out everywhere. And we were in absolute ridiculous for like about 2 or 3 minutes. Nobody could talk. We were laughing so much. So that's when I thought, wow, I didn't realize I could do that, so that's what I do. It's because I think when I'm talking, because again, on my ADHD, I can have 4 discussions at the same time. And
that's not multiple personalities.
No, it's not that. It's just the way I'm going bang, 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 bang. My brain just goes.
Firing on all 4 cylinders.
I would hold myself back with guys when the days when we used to tell jokes, there was 2 guys walking down the street, and the one said, a lot of people would come and tell me jokes. You've got to put this joke in your set. And about 95% of the time, 2/3 into their joke, I knew what they were going to say. It was just, it was like as they were telling the joke, I was going, that's going to go there, that'll go there. But I didn't realize I was doing that. It's just a subconscious thing, you know. So I did it from.
Yeah, he just worked it out ahead of time. Kind of reminds me of Seinfeld on his TV show back in the day. His friend George was always trying to give him bad jokes. He politely listened. But now, one of the things. What's that?
Seinfeld's great.
Oh, amazing stuff. Yeah. No, I mean, we've had some amazing comics from all over the world, but here in the States especially. I mean, Robin Williams was incredible. It's a shame that he's gone. He was just
my best ever was Richard Pryor.
Oh, Richard Pryor was amazing too. Absolutely amazing. Yeah.
Very sad when he died.
Yeah, and there's also others. I mean, they're a little more crass, but they were also very entertaining. I mean, Red Fox back in the day was very entertaining.
Huge.
Yeah.
George Carlin.
Oh, George Carlin. Yeah, yeah. And they're all gone.
You know who's the guy that used to insult everybody completely was Don Rickles.
Yeah.
And he would insult everybody and everything, and people would laugh at it because they knew it was a joke, you know?
Yeah. So, no, he was amazing, Don Rickles. You know, I was looking up, another comedian, I mean, a bit further back, but also very well known, was known for a long time and a pioneer was Phyllis Diller. She was amazing.
Yes, Phyllis Diller was good. I watch a lot of the stuff, the older stuff. At this moment in time, I've actually grown very fond of Ricky Gervais.
Okay.
Because I love Ricky Gervais is not scared to say it as it is. And the way he says it is just, wow. To me, it's like, wow. And you know what, Ricky Gervais, he's got a podium and he drinks beer throughout his thing. And I can see that he's reading his notes. So Ricky Gervais probably writes his whole loads of notes down, what to talk about, and goes over and watches the note and then comes and talks about it. That's genius.
Well, it makes sure he stays on point. He gets everything he wants out there. That's for sure.
You know who I do like? Bill Burr.
Oh yeah, he can be quite funny too. But I think some people don't know how to take him. You know.
Yeah, he's quite. I wouldn't say opinionated. He's
aggressive?
Not scared to say. No, I think Bill Burr, the way he does it, he'll bring up things like sexism or something like that, and he rips it, but it's so cleverly done. It's funny, you know. I don't know if you take offense to that.
No, I don't take offense to it. I mean, look, I've rarely ever been offended by comedians. I mean, there are some people who try to go over the top with profanity or things like that. But, I mean, I get the intent. People are trying to be funny, and many people get it. I mean, they hit the mark. Not everybody does.
I think it's very – I don't know what it's like in the States, but I know in South Africa we have a very mixed group of cultures that we seem to understand. Mm-hmm. We can talk about X, Y, and Z in South Africa without sort of – offending people. Obviously, there are people that do offend people, mm-hmm. but on the general consensus, you know, everybody laughs about the stuff that is idiosyncratic to South Africa. You know, like the guys that have to go for amakwete. You know what amakwete is? Mm-hmm. The guys when they go into the bush. My son's best friend was a guy called Simpiwe Voyo, a nice Jewish boy, you know.
Yeah,
and he came to me and he asked me if I could talk to his dad, and because he didn't want to go into the bush to get the amakwete.
Snip.
I made a whole story about it, but I said to him, you know, dude, first of all, I'm not your dad, and second of all, I wouldn't presume to take your dad's place, and you know, you have to go and do it. So do it. So he went and did it, you know, and then we talked about funny stuff afterwards. So,
in fact,
it was his culture, and I can't sort of claim to understand his culture that much, but I tried.
No, I got you. And in fact, that was in the news because of the snow in the Eastern Cape. That had an effect on boys going out for initiation this past few days. All that snow.
Terrible, eh?
Yeah, it's tough. Tough.
Most of them, they could actually. It was so cold, they didn't have to cut the foreskins. They just broke it off.
Now I set you up well for that one.
Did you? No, it was cold.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
but that's what they do. You know, you've
Yeah.
got to admire those kids who do it because they go out there wearing hardly any clothes.
yep.
Mate, that's what they do, you know, and then you've got to think, wow, how's this guy? That's more than I would do.
Well, I want to come back to the cultures and talk about that because that's a great thing about South Africa and one of the reasons why I like the country so much. But before I do, we were talking about aliens before. I have to let people know that there is an alien in the chat here. It is the confused American Texan / Egyptian / South African. Joe Emilio has made an appearance in the chat, and he said that Barry Hilton is directing his one-man show. The show is called Crossing the Borders at Playhouse Theater. All right, there's a plug for Joe Emilio.
Good luck to Joe. He's a good lad, you know. I've helped a handful of young comics. I've helped quite a lot of young comics, but a handful of them have actually taken my advice, and Joe is one of them. There's a guy in the States now called Long John. He's Long John. He's from Zimbabwe. And he hounded me every time I went to Joburg, he would phone me up and say, please can I open? Please can I open? Please can I open? So I said to him, yes, come. And then I found out he didn't have money to get home. So I used to let him share the room with me, you know. He'd sleep on the floor, but that was the way it was. And this guy, after every show, he didn't say, check at me, I'm great. He came to me and said, what have I got to change? What a great attitude.
That's a fantastic attitude. That's a professional.
Smashing it.
That's a professional that wants to improve their craft. I mean,
not check at me, I'm great. What do I need to do to get better?
Yeah.
That was brutal.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. It's and then Joe's just had nice comments. Says much love, Barry. So that's very yeah. Now Joe is an interesting fellow. Joe in his early days of doing his YouTube broadcast a few years ago during the lockdown. Yeah. Joe was on my program. I was in his program, and my audience was like, "Joe, say something funny." And I'm like, "Leave the guy alone, man. He didn't come out here to do comedy. He came on here to talk about what he's doing." So, but I have to tell you, there, Barry. I mean, in 100%. I mean, if I'm honest, I mean that's my favorite South African phrase. What else would you be but honest? Come on. If I'm honest, anyway. If I'm honest, I was questioning whether Joe Emilio was actually funny. Because I'd never seen him tell a joke until I went to Somerset West and he opened for you. And then I saw that Joe is actually not funny. No, I'm just kidding. He's actually hilarious.
He's funny. He's got a very nice way about him. His demeanor's nice. He's good, and he wants to learn. Just tell him he owes me a braai.
Okay, there you go. Well, Joe, I'll be down that way shortly, so maybe you can set up a braai. I could swing by too, get some free food or potiki. Okay. So let me get to this. This is the one thing I really want to talk to you, Barry, and I think this is really important for people because my audience is global. I mean, I've got people in Ireland, New Zealand, China, South Korea, Japan who watch this program, and lots of South Africans. About 60% of my audience in South Africa, and then a number of South African expats around the world, plus Americans and Brits, and this is important for people outside South Africa, especially who aren't expats, to understand that. I mean, South Africa is a cornucopia, a kaleidoscope, if you will, a rainbow of different peoples. Xhosa, Venda, Zulu, Tswana, Basotho, Afrikaner, Portuguese, English, Jews, all kinds of people from all different ethnic backgrounds.
Massive.
And of course, you've got the Coloreds, specifically the Cape Coloreds, the Griquas, the Damars, all these different groups, and don't
forget the Bushmen.
The Khoi and the San, yeah.
Khoi, the San, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, no problem.
Now, isn't it funny, if you say Bushman to somebody in another place, they'll think you're being derogative, but a Khoi-san will tell you, I'm Bushman.
Yeah. No, you can't. I mean, look, people can play that game all day. It's ridiculous. I mean, I used to listen to what was called soul music in America. Then one day I walked in and suddenly it was listed as urban. And people like, it's not soul, it's urban. It's insulting. Or Black Americans one time were called colored by black and white folks. And the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, the NAACP, still uses that name in its title. But then that went from colored to black and then black to African American when Jesse Jackson coined the phrase. And some people were insulted by the different terms. Relax, folks. Nobody's intentionally being insulting here.
Well, I found out I've got a granddad that was born in Massachusetts. Mm-hmm. So basically, I'm an African American.
There you go. Why not? But this cornucopia, this kaleidoscope or rainbow of different ethnicities, cultures, and languages.
Yeah.
and behaviors really makes a fertile ground for a talented comedian to. Now I've watched you, and you shift from doing the okay, stop.
I don't do anything like it.
You what?
I talk about it, but I don't do any sort of permanent. Like, I don't say, so there was this colored guy. Or
No. That's not what I'm saying. I'm talking about voices, impersonation. You know, when that's where I'm going with this. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. No. Okay. I think you inferred incorrectly. So no. Wait, I don't want to offend my guest. No, but I mean, I've seen you have the ability to do a brilliant accent from an Afrikaner and from an Indian South African and from colors,
French, English.
And, you do all of them, and you do it in such a way that everyone laughs because it's very entertaining. It's is that a skill that you developed over time, or did it come to you early? I mean, because your upbringing was all over the place.
When I was a youngster, I used to imitate the comics on the stage, on the television. A guy called Tommy Cooper was this magic comedian, and I could paraphrase his jokes when I was 9 or 10. And I could do it like he would tell. He had this gruff voice. He'd say, "A bloke goes to a doctor. He says, I've broken my leg in 2 places. The doctor says, don't go back to those places again."
Now, is that the guy from the UK? Was that the guy from the UK? Was that the guy from the UK?
Yeah, Tommy Cooper was just
yeah.
It was this one line he made out.
Didn't he go to Rhodesia during
I don't know. I can't.
I think he went there. Yeah. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
I think a lot of people went there, but Tommy Cooper was this guy, and still today, you know, he's like top of the tree. I think a lot of guys, because Tommy Cooper, once again, he never offended anybody, even when people didn't get offended. He didn't offend people. You know, he was just Tommy Cooper, and he was just silly. It was brilliant. In fact, he died on stage. He physically died on stage. He was doing the London Palladium, and he came out. I remember watching the video, and he came out, and he just said, "I don't feel well," just like that. And he fell over, and he dropped, and only his feet were showing on the other side of the curtain, and he was dead. But the audience thought it was a part of a joke, and they were screaming for 5 to 10 minutes, laughing so loud. But the guy was dead. And because what actually happened, because they realized he was dead, they pulled his feet from under the curtains and then to backstage. And then the people just went wild again. And then they had to come out and say, "I'm sorry."
He's gone.
So what a way to go.
Yeah, that is a way to go. I tell you, hard to top that one.
At my age, a way to go is Brooklaks.
Yikes.
So I need to go. I'm going to go. Give me those tablets or prunes.
All right, so here's one, because this is one I don't know the etymology or the origin of this, but it's all over your social media presence, and it's part of who you are and what you do. But what's this thing about the cousin? What's that all about? I mean, a lot of people aren't familiar with that. South Africans know, but the rest of us don't know.
I could make friends at a young age very quickly. Give me 5 minutes, I'll have friends, you know. And I can't remember people's names. I can't even remember your name. That's the truth. So when people would say, "Who's this?" I automatically, from when I was about 9 or 10 years old, I would just say, "It's my cousin." And then that's what happened. And then when I started as a pro, I always started off with, "Hello, my cousins." And that's stuck with it. Now, I think more people know me as the cousin than as Barry Hilton. So I've been doing it for 40 years.
Oh, it's absolutely brilliant. Cool. That's a pretty simple explanation. I thought there was something much more complicated to it.
Yeah, it's like some guys, you know, they have, what do they call it? It's just their moniker. You know what I'm saying? That's who they are. Did you remember watching that movie with Billy Crystal, Mr. Saturday Night?
Yes.
And his opening line was da 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 da. But don't get me started. He said that, people just howled at laughter because they knew it was him. So there we go. You know, that's how my cousin came along. there's been a lot of people asking me about cousins and that, and that's my simplest explanations from day one.
No, that works perfectly fine. It makes sense to me now, but I'm like scratching my head trying to, a lot of people are probably like, how did this come about? It's just thinking about
Did
all
you
the
notice how
permutations.
people laugh when I say that?
Yeah.
I walk out on stage, I have a drink of water, and I say, my cousins.
And they all chuckle. Laughs. They all chuckle, yep. No, in fact, I didn't know what it was. And at your performance in Somerset West, when you said that, I'm like, okay, that wasn't funny. Why are they laughing? And maybe I missed something here. Obviously, I missed something.
Because I've done it. I was in where was I the last time? I was in a big show I was in the UK last year, and there was a lot of British people out there, and I didn't realize. And I came out and I said, "Hello, my cousins," and they all like looked at me like you just looked at me, like. And then I explained it to them. I said, I use a lot of things. I said, so I'm from Africa, which is the heart of the beginning of the populace of the world. So realistically, we're all cousins. So I'm saying to you, my cousin, because in fact, can I come and stay at your house tonight? Because I've got no place to stay, and I'm your cousin. That's how I got out of it.
Well, people are always talking about that. And I said, listen, if you believe in evolution, I mean, we're all out of Africa. I mean, it's just that my ancestors had the good sense to get out of the Serengeti because it was too damn hot about 186,000 years ago. And they started heading north.
In Krugersdorp, that's the cradle of mankind. That's what they're saying. So, but that was when the continents, maybe the seas weren't there. I'm not talking millions of years ago when there's Pangea and stuff like that, but I think, there was no roads, so people could cross, when it was like a bit of a drought. That's how they crossed into Europe.
Well, in fact, there's lots of places on the southern coast of the Western Cape where the water levels are higher now because during the glaciation, the water was retreated many meters back. And there's caves and middens in there where they're eating shellfish and things like that. It's amazing. But I love the Mahalisburg, one of my favorite places to go. And I've been in the cradle. It's just beautiful there. And then the discovery of Homo naledi and all this stuff, that stuff fascinates me. Really interesting stuff. But people have been living in that neighborhood for a long time.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, it's true, because I spoke to Jason Statham the other day, and I actually watched him doing the Meg. So they went beyond that thermocline at like 17,000 meters. I thought, no, that's not going to happen, bro. But it was a great movie because it's a bit of escapism, isn't it?
No, he's a great actor. That guy's really fantastic to watch.
I spoke to my one son. I said, "You want to look at the Meg?" He said, "Dad, I got gigs."
Well, that would have been my response. That's what I would have said.
I just made that up.
I got a terabyte. What are you talking about, Megs?
Yeah, what about it? Meg? What are you talking about?
A couple people have been asking about cancel culture over here. I don't know if you want to address that, but I mean, cancel culture, you just don't offend people. Then you don't worry about cancel culture. That's, it's.
Yeah. I don't offend people. I don't believe I offend people, and I don't want to offend anybody. But it's the way the world is now, But I think we should look a bit further, maybe. The world is at war all over the place. So let's not worry about people that are really having a hard time. Actually, I said to Sandy last night, I said it's like 4 or 5 degrees in Cape Town where we are, and that's very cold for Cape Town, And I said to Sandy, spare a thought for these poor buggers that are living under the bush, and you can't find the guys because they're living under the bush. So spare a thought for these guys. It's terrible, the amount of people around the world that are suffering. It's terrible. I just wish the world was a better place, really.
Well, I'm with you on that one. That's certainly what I would hope for. I've seen the best and the absolute worst of humanity in my 36 years in the Army, living all over the world. It's just.
Oh yes, you must have. Eh?
Yeah, it's there's great signs for humanity, and there's always danger signs too. It's just the world we live in.
Terrible, man. Yeah. It's just, it's terrible. But
not to bring us down here, so we can get away from that a little bit, but other comedians in South Africa, do you have a lot of experience? Have you done things with other comedians in South Africa? I mean, there's some very well-known comedians.
I've done quite a lot. But at this moment in my career, I choose not to go on lineup shows unless it's something for a special. I'm doing one in a couple of months' time. It's for a very I think some kids are very ill or something like that. So I said, yes, I'll do it, But I don't enjoy going on a lineup because if I can fill the room basically by myself. Yeah.
Well, Barry, what's that like? I mean, you talk about raising money for your son's soccer team, football team, but also I believe you're involved in you've helped raise money for other causes from time to time.
Yeah.
Is that rewarding, the ability to use your celebrity, your fame to do something positive to help others?
Yes, it's great. It's a great feeling. I do a lot for people who suffer with cancer because I lost my mum and my brother to cancer. So I tend to do that. Some things happen in the world, the things that they are profound on you. We had this video store, one of my business stupid things that I did. And this woman came into the store, and I could see in the car there was a kid there bobbing up and down in the back of the car. And I said, is your son okay there, or is your daughter, whatever? And she said to me, actually, it's my son, and he's got cancer, and he's actually bobbing up and down because he's vomiting into this bucket. And I said, look, just take as many movies as you want, but don't take 90 at a time. Just take 1 or 2 at a time, and just take it. So about 4 years later, this guy meets me somewhere and says to me, Uncle Baz, because the uncle thing is big in South Africa, I said, yo, can I help you, son? He said to me, I want to thank you for the videos. And I said, what videos? And he was like, well, I was the kid that was sick in the car and you gave us the videos. Wow. I was extremely emotional because somebody years later just to come to me and say, hey, thanks, man. You can't buy that for anything. It's a wonderful, wonderful feeling if you can help somebody else. I think it's great.
No, I'm with you 100% on that. That's truly amazing. And so the kid made it. He overcame the cancer.
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
The one time a guy phoned up on Christmas Day, a girl phoned up on Christmas Day, and I heard Sandy, she was my girlfriend at the time, said, do you realize it's Christmas? And then I said, what's wrong? So we picked up, and there was a guy in the hospital Christmas Day with diabetes, bad, and they just amputated his legs. And the night before, his wife said to him, what would you like for Christmas? And he said, I would love just to have a chat with Barry Hilton. Wow. So when they told me that, I said, I'm coming. I went to go see the guy. And this guy was so happy. And I'm thinking, how can I possibly feel sad about anything in my life? This guy, it's a grown man, busy going blind as well with the diabetes, and said, I just want to talk to Barry Hilton. I mean, that's a massive honor anybody could ask. Yeah.
No, absolutely. It absolutely is. It's oftentimes we as individuals, we find ourselves, not happy with their circumstances, but there's always somebody that's got it much tougher in almost every case.
Sure, but I lost it completely 3 years ago. I actually had a full nervous breakdown, complete, and I ended up in a clinic. So in hindsight, that was a brilliant thing for me because I realized, it's not only me that feels sorry for himself. There's people out there that are really ill. So I went to a clinic. And funny enough, when I talk about that, I do a talk about it now called Barry Hilton, My Life in 3D. But I talk about dyslexia, depression, and ADHD, but I say DDHA. And when I tell people that I went to a clinic, they look at me and they say, why? You're a comedian. I say, no, dude. It's not only comedians that we don't smile every day. There's, the tears of a clown, but also there's people out there that are suffering that we can't even begin to think about. It's sad. So, we try to do our best we can. Sandy and I and my other children, we try to help each and every way we can. Am I getting too emotional now?
No. Well, I do get emotional, but I'm okay. I'm holding up right now. So, but I carry my emotions close. Yeah.
There's always somebody worse off than you, and there's always somebody better than you. Always.
Yeah, that's true. That's why I've never tried to keep up with the Joneses. I can't possibly keep up with the Joneses. It doesn't interest me. But, one of the things for me that was really especially rewarding, and I'm not sure if you've ever ventured into this or had any role with it, is that I started or rescued several of our HIV programs in different countries around Africa, including Botswana
Fabulous.
and Niger and Mauritania and Uganda. Worked very assiduously with those programs to try to bring those resources to people, whether it's antiretrovirals or it's, ABC, all that, protect people. I've seen the impact of those programs, and it's amazing. It's whether people like him or not, and I'm not trying to drag him in this, but George Bush, his administration created the PEPFAR program, and it's really had a tremendous impact on the lives of particularly people in Africa, and especially Zimbabwe, South Africa, Botswana, Namibia. Yeah. It's really been a game changer.
And when AIDS first came about, it's a natural thing for human beings. They were A, scared of it, and B, they didn't understand it. So they basically mocked it.
Yep. And they targeted the people who had it.
Loads of jokes about it. Pardon?
And they targeted the people who had it.
Yeah, like I remember there was one kid in America who was a hemophiliac. And he
Ryan White.
And they wouldn't talk to him in school. It was like quite scary. And that poor child... But luckily, things have changed.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely.
So it's getting better.
It's great to see how the tide has turned against that evil scourge. It's something. Now, Joe Emilio says, talk about your course. Do you teach something, Barry?
Yeah, I have a course.
What's this course?
My manager.
What's this course about?
Called Talk Funny, and the course is designed to show people how to address public speaking with jokes, how to open a meeting with a quick 30-second or a 3-second one-liner, because it's quite simple. And I have a whole PDF, editable PDF that I show people how to create a joke from one word. It's a series of things I do, and from one word you get 31 words. And then we have 3 different types of jokes that I show people. That it's just subject, anything you want. Tell me something, anything you want. What should I talk about?
Oh, there was a break. There was a break in the thing. So you're asking me right now to just tell you something?
Give me a subject.
Subject. Elephants.
Elephants. Okay. Okay, imagine an elephant going by the river, okay, and having a drink. So he puts his trunk into the water, and the crocodile bites his trunk off, and the elephant says, "I'm making that funny."
Okay, I see how you do that. That's pretty clever.
An elephant, because elephants. I mean, a crocodile wouldn't even dare do that, So that's a surprise. It's something different, and. So jokes, you can make a joke about basically anything, but it depends.
Yep, looks like we got a break. I don't know if it's load shedding, maybe. Could be load shedding, folks. I don't know if we've hit load shedding there. We may have hit load shedding.
My wife has gone quiet. Maybe she's been load shedded.
There you are. Did you get load shedding? What happened there? You were gone for 30 seconds.
I don't know. It says my internet connection is unstable. So I think we switched over. We're on to
your inverter.
the batteries now, generators and stuff like that. So it's Africa, my friend. Love it or leave it.
Yeah, no, it's not for the soft at heart. So that's for darn sure. But you were saying that you could basically take anything and make a joke out of it. People can do that.
Yeah, so you can take it, you can make a joke about anything you want, basically, but it depends how you tell it and how you, whatever.
Where you put the emphasis and where you deliver the punchline, all of that plays a role.
And how you think. I mean, that elephant one was just off thinking.
Yeah, I know. It was just
you can sit down, but my course is to show people how to do it. So prepare yourself to open a conversation with a topical one-liner, throw another one-liner in the middle about that person's business, and end with a topical one-liner, 3 seconds, bang, 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 and people will remember you. Have you know when you go to a barbecue, is it a barbecue or braai or whatever?
No, we say barbecue, yes, but a braai, yes.
There's always some person at any barbecue or whatever that is actually funny. Always.
It's usually the person that's trying to control the barbecue or the braai, the braai master. That's the one that's funny.
But I'm saying there's always one person you meet. If you go to the pub with a few mates, there's always one person who's funny. And if you notice, everybody gravitates towards that person.
Yep.
The power of humor, my friend. So my course shows you how to be that person.
No, that's brilliant. Now, here's something. I don't know if you recall, because you meet tens of thousands of people, if not more. But Nick Groves sent a super chatter. He said, I might have contributed to Barry's depression. He spoke at our Muir reunion. I was the bloke who passed out in his food.
I remember that.
Okay. I guess you had to get an alternate plate after that.
Yeah, I had to change the plate. I remember the guy, I think, I don't know what happened. I think he fainted or did something. And I remember the guy putting his head in my plate. And I said to the waiter, I asked for a large plate, but this is ridiculous.
So you just turned that right around right there. It's pretty funny. So it looks like his connection is acting up again here, folks. Load shedding is so special in South Africa. Oh, there you're back.
I'm sorry.
No, don't be. It's I blame Eskom.
Okay.
So everybody gets that, especially in South Africa. They get that. I tell you, it's the thing with Eskom. It's gotten so bad that the jokes aren't funny anymore. It was funny a few years ago to talk about Eskom, but these days it's just kind of sad.
It is, because it's you blame this one, who blames this one, who blames that one, who blames that one. Will it ever come to an end? We don't know. I just hope. I actually saw a very good thing the other day about the ANC youth have created. They've come back in and they've got a voice now again. And I watched the speech, and this young guy, I forget his name if he evades me, but he was brilliant. And he was actually saying about, listen, guys, politicians, politics is not an old age home. Get out and let the young people with fresh ideas come through. And to me, that was I thought, wow, that's pretty good. So, yeah, things change all the time. But if you don't go with the flow, you're going to drown, man.
Well, that's an interesting point that you make there, Barry. So, I've alluded to the fact that you're not 25 a couple of times here without trying to be insulting. But
27.
Would you say 37?
27.
Oh, 27. Well, I was 29 for 11 years. Think about it.
Well, there we go.
No, because my mother would call me up on my birthday. I was overseas, and she's like, so happy birthday, because my birthday is Christmas Day. And she'd be like,
really?
Yeah, it's Christmas Day. So I always got rooked on Christmas Day, trust me. But she'd always be like, so how old are you this year? I'm like, 29. She says, no, you're not. You were 29 last year. I said, no, think about it. And it went on for 11 years, because if I'm 29, that means you're just 49. And now who's got a bigger day? Who's got a bigger date to worry about? Me at 30 or you at 50?
Well done. That's good, man.
Yeah, no, she got into it after a while. She liked that joke, but I lost my mom to cancer too. She had stage 4
terrible, man.
Yeah, stage 4 metastatic lung cancer. It was tough. So I appreciate what you're talking about with the cancer stuff there. But yeah, it's I didn't. But anyway, back to the age thing. So you've been doing this for a long time.
40 years.
40 years. Okay. Obviously, 40 years ago, what you could say that would strike a chord with your audience is probably not the same today. Now Don Rickles is able to do what he did for 60 years. Have you changed your approach, or is it pretty much the same? Because you've never offended people. Did you have to find different ways not to offend people? Has there been changes? Or are you just the same guy?
I remember the guy who started, he actually sadly died a few months ago, Johnny Noble. He was the first guy to give me a leg up, and he said to me, if you keep it clean, you will always be in the scene. So I've tried to do that from day one. Obviously, some stuff that might have been said 20, 30 years ago, now the people will say, oh, no, hold on. But that's 30 years ago, you know what I'm saying? So, the world has changed. It wasn't too long ago that people in America, you were segregated.
Yeah.
50 years, is it? I don't know. 50 years, maybe
It's
60 years.
over about 60 years. Yeah, that all legally came to an end as I was born around that time frame.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so quite sad, So
yeah, it
things
is.
times change. I was feeling sad about myself the one time, and my boy actually said to me, Bradley, my older boy, he said to me, Dad, you know that you were famous before YouTube and Facebook? I said, I was? He said, yeah. So, yeah, I think because, I've gone through stages where I'm thinking, I've had enough of this, but you push on through and enjoy. As long as I can still make people laugh without hurting anybody's feelings, without doing anything like that, boom, boom, it's fine. I actually told that story about my mum many years ago. It was in conversation when I was on stage. And the guy shouted at me, he says, you disgusting, you're talking about crippled people. And I said, I'm talking about my mother, dude. So, and he said, well, your mother wasn't crippled. I said, did you ever meet her? Yeah. Because she was. And then he actually came to me afterwards. He said, man, I didn't realize that, I said, well, you've taken the wrong idea there. But no, nice enough guy.
But so you've mentioned your mom a couple of times, and you mentioned your dad, and it seems like both of them must have had a big impact on who Barry Hilton is and who you became.
Well, my dad was a funny guy. My dad was really funny. My mom was the one that kept everything together. She was the business. But my dad was always quite witty. He used to be witty, and I think that's where I got my wit from him. But my mother was much more progressive than my dad. She would understand. I remember them, having a quarrel or something, and I heard her saying, it's 1975, Jack. It's not 1940 when we were around. So my mom would remind him, and then he would be cool for a while. But it was the way the world was at the time. You couldn't. Heaven forbid you wanted to move in with your girlfriend in a flat. That was like scandal. Like, you're going to bring shame upon this family. So life has changed. We should actually go with it. Oh, your name is Chris. I can see it now in the corner.
He just realized who he's talking to. Well, that comes from Christmas Day, because it's not actually my name. My name's actually William Martin Wyatt. But I've always been called Chris because I was born on Christmas Day. My grandfather,
Christmas Day.
Yeah, my grandfather, my maternal grandfather, and my father apparently didn't like each other. My mom was 19 when I was born. My father was 30. Okay. That probably had something to do with it. So I was born at the hospital, and they were arguing. Apparently, I was born about 6:25 in the morning. They're arguing about what to name me, and my grandfather said, "This is easy," because you didn't know gender. There's no gender reveal or any of that nonsense back then. So if it's a boy, it's Chris. If it's a girl, it's Chris. Just a question of whether it's a C or K. So my father rushed off and filled out certificate of live birth. He put it down, and then my grandfather called me Chris, and that's what stuck. So for legal, I sign everything. William, but people call me Bill, Billy. I don't even hear that, because I've always been called Chris. Now, I've been called a lot of bad things too, but that's another story.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
That's another story. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, that's so obviously they played a big role in who you became. That's pretty awesome. And it is a different world. When I was a kid, a mixed marriage wasn't interracial. It was Protestant and Christian. Protestant and Catholic. Right? It was a mixed marriage was Protestant and Catholic back then. That's what it meant.
Yeah, that's true. Hey, because my first wife, Janice, she's brilliant, and I still think she's great. She was Protestant, and I was sort of Catholic, and that caused a bit of thing, So we got married in the Anglican church, but I was too young, and I'm an idiot. So if Janice is listening to it, I'm sorry, Janice. I was just a flippin' idiot. I'm sorry. The way it is. We've got a beautiful daughter from Janice and myself, so lekker.
Brilliant. People keep asking me to ask certain things here. We're going to run out of time here shortly. Barry's been very generous with his time. He was cooking dinner. We interrupted his dinner as he was doing it. But one thing that it's come up 3 or 4 times here. This must be a bit that you do. I've been asked to ask you about biltong and pot roast.
Never been on it. Biltong and Pot Roast was a program that influenced me to become a pro.
Oh, okay.
They had three British comedians and three South African comedians with an adjudicator. And then the adjudicator would say, okay, John, tell me a joke about a bus. And then John would tell a joke and he'd give him X amount of points. So it was all fixed, because the guys knew what jokes they were going to tell. But I started off like that by watching Biltong and Poitras and beating the guys to the joke. So I used to do that in my lounge. And eventually, we had like 20 or 30 people every Friday night in the lounge, and I was beating these guys all the time. So that's when my friend said to me, you really need to turn pro. And that's where my Janice said to me, you can't be a pro, you've got to be an electrician, you've got to be this and that. And that caused a big rift. So it's life. So Biltong and Poitras was actually, unfortunately, it stopped a year before I started. There we go.
Well, you were saying Janice at the time wanted you, or I don't know if that's what the plan was, but alluded to be an electrician, have a real job, do something.
Yeah,
was it?
That was a real job.
I mean, it's look. I interviewed a gentleman named Dax who was a panel beater in Pretoria.
Yeah,
and he did that for 17 years, and he was good at it, and he made a living, took care of his family. But that's not where his heart was at. He loved painting. And he'd been doing it. So he decided to quit being a panel beater after 17 years, took a big risk, and started going to fairs and selling his art. And it was difficult for about a year and a half. But then he caught on. And he was successful. But then, of course, COVID came. But Dax is doing okay. I've been in touch with him a few times. I keep up with my previous guest. And Dax is doing okay. He's able to sell his art again. So was it, it's got to be tough. It's a huge risk.
Horrific.
Huge risk.
It was terrible. It took me probably 6 months to earn what I was earning in 1 month as an electrician.
Oh, so you really were an electrician then?
I was, yeah.
Well, actually, I've got this problem with my.
Yeah. I was arguably the worst electrician in the whole world, but I was the funniest one, I think.
But it's probably good you went into comedy then, if you were so bad at being an electrician.
It's fine. Yeah,
that's too funny. No, it always is a risk when you start out and you get going like that. A friend of mine, Monty Jackson, you probably know Monty Jackson, the singer. You ever heard of him?
No.
Monty Jackson? Okay. Well, Monty Jackson is he played in clubs and bars, for just for tips and stuff for years. Yeah, he did it for ages, and then finally caught on with one single, and then became a huge, Afrikaans performer in South Africa. But Monty is a down to earth kind of guy, and he hung in there and stuck with it. So, and Dax has done the same thing.
I worked in strip clubs for 4 years.
Okay.
As a compere. Yeah.
Okay, well, that's interesting.
That's all the work I could get. I was the compere for strippers. So that was, and I just kept at it and kept at it. And what I did, I made a decision. When I first started, the guys were there to come and see the stripper and listen to the comedian. Okay. When I'd finished that sort of part of my life, the guys came to see the comedian and just sort of said, yeah, the stripper's okay, and have lunch then. So there's a friend of mine called Tony the King. You should interview him. He's from Manchester, and Tony and myself were the only two guys that could actually handle this really tough club in the East Rand. Tony the King, very, very sharp guy, very good guy. We've been friends for 40 years. So,
well, I'll be happy to reach out to him and do an interview with him. It'd be my pleasure. Sounds like we're both getting that sort of something stuck in our throat there. Yeah. Well, let's rush. Yeah, I was going to say we have to wrap it up here. So, Barry Hilton, thank you very much. Really do appreciate your time. I hope you feel you were treated fairly. I treat all my guests fairly. I hope you felt that way.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So, you've got some performances coming up, folks. Go to that. Is it quicktick.co.za or something like that?
Yeah, Quicket. Yeah.
Okay.
I think they can go on my site, barryhilton.com.
All right, brilliant. So
have a Joel.
What's that?
Have a Joel.
Have a Joel. Yeah, there you go. Have a Joel. So any last thoughts or words? I'll give the floor for a moment as we wrap up.
No, I wanted to thank you for letting me speak. It's great. It's actually very nice to chat to somebody that doesn't expect me to do a joke a second, So a lot of guys are waiting for me, joke. But you allowed me to just talk about my life. And, because basically all people we normal. We just tend to have different jobs. But thanks, my cousin. I appreciate it.
Ooh, that's a high honor. Call me my cousin. Thank you for that, Barry. I appreciate that. Bye bye, donkey. Que la bois. Thank you so much for that. Ladies and gentlemen,
Cheers.
Barry Hilton, thank you so much. I'll let you drop off and I'll wrap up the program. Thank you, Barry. And I'll see
Cheers,
you. I'll see you on
bye-bye.
the 29th.
Absolutely.
All right, folks, that was Barry Hilton, South Africa's famous comedian. I hope you enjoyed that. Very kind compliment he played there at the end. Thank you for that, Barry. Yeah, it is the Indaba conversation with Chris. The idea is to have a conversation. You know, I frequently in the past have gotten people complaining, well, we want to hear the guests talk more. Well, I mean, it's not an interview as such. It's more of a conversation and a chance to learn about someone. And I found it fascinating. It was very fascinating. I hope you all found it the same way. And I'd appreciate any likes you could put on the video here. And thanks to the audience for tuning in. I'll be back in about 40 minutes with the news on this channel. I haven't set that up yet, but we'll do the news today on this program. So thank you all so much. I enjoyed the conversation. Thank you all so much. And especially to my guest, Barry Hilton. Joe Emilio, thanks for making an appearance in here and sharing people with your upcoming show. Joe, send me the deets on that way. That'd be our short way of saying details for your upcoming show. I think you did. I think you sent me a screen capture. And I'll start letting people know about that if they want to go check out Joe Emilio's program. He's actually quite funny, folks, for a very confused Mexican/Texan/American/Egyptian/South African. He's very confused. His poor daughter is going to grow up and not know what's going on in the world. What am I? You're a human being and a lovely person. Anyway, folks, thanks a lot. We'll catch you here shortly on this program on the same channel for the news. Thank you so much. Have a lovely day, and thanks for tuning in. Be sure to give us a like. Feel free to leave a comment behind if you don't mind. I'd appreciate that. Thank you, guys, and take care.